E Brown 72. Why haven't you sponsored Critical Role in the last couple of weeks? We're still partnered with Critical Role. We love Critical Role. Still partnered with them. Nothing has changed there. As you have probably noticed, they have gone to a different format in the last couple of weeks due to everything that's going on with quarantine. And so they have just not had any type of sponsorship format for that. So I'm not exactly sure what I can or can't share there, so I'm not going to share all of it. But expect to see us show back up on their stream very soon, as soon as they kind of open up the ability for that partnership and sponsorship to show back up in their new format. So nothing's changed. There's we love Critical Role, and I believe they love us. So yeah, we're gonna you'll certainly see D&D Beyond with Critical Role going forward in the future. Luxor 5013, how often do you take a look at community homebrew? I actually would say that it's not something that I'm doing on a daily basis because unfortunately I get pretty busy these days, but it is something that I will kind of jump down a rabbit hole every now and then and do. So the last time that I did this was actually a couple of weeks ago. I was, trying to catch up on the forums. I get way too many private messages on the website to keep up with them. So if you've sent me a private message, I apologize. I just can't keep up with that kind of volume at this point. But when I'm trying to catch up the best I can on some of those kind of things, a lot of times I will go out there and take a look at homebrew. And I ended up going down the rabbit hole for probably an hour or hour and a half the other day, looking at things. I saw some really fun things. I'm hoping that there are some opportunities in the future for us to highlight our community homebrew even more. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and we'll keep you posted. JNJ Tabletop. Does anyone know if it's possible to switch back and forth between whether the ability score or modifier number is more prominent on the character sheet? I know on the website you can, but I can't find it on the app. I've got to check on the app itself. I don't know the answer to that one. Maybe someone can help you in chat. It's probably if it is not possible at this point in time, it is something that we will be looking to add in the future as soon as we can get there. Sans D20, where did you get your shirt? I forgot which one I had on. So this is I have an embarrassing number of t-shirts and graphic t-shirts. It's gotten to the point where my wife tries to lay down the law and say that I can't buy new ones unless I get rid of old ones. And so she, has tried to establish that there's like a 1-to-1, that if I'm going to buy a shirt, that I have to get rid of a shirt and give it to Goodwill or something like that. And don't get me wrong, I've given a lot to Goodwill and I have no problems with doing that. But I also love all these shirts. And so it's kind of like, in the Matrix when the like rack of clothing came in or whatever, I think it was the Matrix anyway. And, looking for something to wear, that is like my closet. So unfortunately, oh my goodness. Oh good. I'm not sharing my screen. I want to turn off Steam notifications. Told me my son was sharing a game with me now. Thanks, son. So yeah, this shirt I believe came from tfury.com. But I kind of lose track because I have just the right number of these shirts. All right, Metalis, when are we getting your crit? Oh, sorry. Yep, I answered that one already. Um, let's see. Way too much about the hat. I don't know where I got the hat, actually. So sorry about that. Okay, our Darkade. Would it be possible to add versioning to character sheets? So that is something that we have discussed since the earliest days of D&D Beyond. and we have not gotten to a place yet where we can really focus any time or energy on that. But I would not say never to that. It's been on our minds. It's something we've talked about. It would probably start with some kind of logging at first, but then there's the potential for versioning. We do want to make it where, for instance, someone could create a template or a build almost of a character, and then others be able to copy that character to their own account and then use that character kind of as a starting point. So that kind of copy functionality is something we're looking forward or looking to do. But also versioning is something we've discussed. Just it's not on the short or midterm roadmap or in our horizon. Let's see. All right. Arcane Faraga. You mentioned sprints in a previous update. Does D&D Beyond utilize Scrum? So I'll say that we utilize Agile methodology. I am a certified Scrum Master, and there are things that we do that is not, just purely Scrum based on that. But we certainly do emphasize an Agile methodology, iteration. So everything is iterative development, and yes, we do use sprints, and those would be pretty synonymous with most concepts of Scrum out there. So yeah, I would say lots and lots of Scrum. It might not be incredibly pure all the way through Scrum, but we certainly try to operate in an agile methodology as we're developing features, interacting with content and everything else. Moses Karada, are there future plans for a full VTT platform hosted on D&D Beyond, enjoying the encounter builder and dice? I'm assuming that's the logical end goal. Your assumptions are very logical, and I think they make a lot of sense. And yes, we have talked about previously that we do intend to do something, whether it's a VTT or a next generation of what we think the current VTTs are out there. That is something we are certainly marching toward. We don't know when we're going to get there, but all of the directional effort that we're doing is trying to lead to that direction. I just said something circular, didn't I? But that's fine. I think you got the concept. Lord Garthon, any chance for a data update about multi-classing or feat usage? Yes, we will add that to the list. That is an excellent idea. Let's see. Sorry, lots of things about the hat. All right. So, Arconum, how do you feel about multi DM games? Ever experienced one done really well? I think that the D4 stream that happens on Sundays by my buddies, Dustin and Devin, they are actually co-DMing that game, and I think that they do an incredible job. They do a much better job than I think that I would be able to do with a DMing partner. But at the same time, I've never tried it, so I've never personally tried a game like that. I think I've played in a couple, but I have not personally tried it. But I think that they do an incredibly good job on the D4 stream. So hopefully we can give them some, shout out in the chat to their Twitch channel. And I think if you check that out, you would be pretty impressed. Vaxum, who would you cosplay other than an Adam Bradford original like Briv? Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll share that one of the things that I am thinking about right now cosplaying, and I started looking at some reference photos a little earlier, is Fisto from Masters of the Universe. So that is one of the characters that I've thought about cosplaying very, very recently. So probably several others out there But yeah, Fisto from Masters of the Universe, he has a giant iron hand, and he is the heroic master of unarmed combat. So that is the most recent character that I've considered cosplaying. Let's see. DM Anvil, could we request the ability to queue up choices for future levels of your character? So as soon as you add the level, it's already chosen. That's an interesting concept. I don't know if that's a direction we will go or not, but it is an interesting concept, and we'll add that to our list for consideration. ZXDM. It's been a while since the last discount code, around 6 months now. Has it been 6 months? You're definitely tracking that very specifically. Any chance of new discount codes coming? I don't have any news about that at this point in time, but keep your eyes peeled. As soon as we have any discount codes available, we will broadcast that all across all of the channels. Era Groth, you already allow us to change the name on items and skills and add text. Could this be done with class features? Even if it doesn't make mechanical changes, we could use it for homebrew to an extent just by having it on our sheets. I think that that is a very good concept. And again, it's not something that we are actively considering at this point, but we'll add it to that consideration list because yeah, I understand what you're saying. Just essentially being able to change the labeling and those kinds of things to reflavor certain elements. I certainly could get behind that, and we are always looking for more and more ways to allow for the unlimited versatility and customization that Dungeons and Dragons offers. So I think that fits into that spirit for sure. Alt F4 will help. What are your thoughts on the new UA? I think that many of these feats, some of them don't excite me very much. Like some of the more weapon oriented ones, for instance, don't directly excite me. But that might be because I am not typically someone who wants to really, really focus all effort and energy into, the one, place for weapon types. But I do like the ability to expand your invocation repertoire because it's kind of like no matter what I do, I always want three warlock invocations instead of just the two that you start out with. So I think that the ability to do that is a very cool thing and a thing that is going to be a great option for people to have out there. I would say that the fighting style one, as I joked about earlier, I love the swashbuckler for the rogue. That is my favorite rogue subclass by leaps and bounds. But having a son that does historical European martial arts and we talk sword fighting all the time, I would prefer to be able to, use a rapier and some type of offhanded weapon. And of course, the swashbuckler is encouraged to two-weapon fight, and it has always been a little frustrating to me that in order to be as effective with that non-light weapon with the rapier in your main hand, you would have to take a level of fighter in order to make sure that you have the fighting style that allows you to, be more effective with your dual wielding. And so I think that having the option to now do that as that rogue is very, very intriguing. So yeah, I think that several of those feats fill in some gaps that are really important and can really help some types of character concepts. So yeah, overall, I think they're a good addition. Well, we'll see what happens through their development through the survey. Be sure to respond to the surveys there, where if these do make it to a published source, hopefully it's going to again prop up some of those other types of character concepts. Let's see. AEL to win. Have you seen or used the countdown puzzle in a game before, as seen in Z Bashu's video. I am not familiar with Z Bashu's video, and so sorry, I thought this was more about just puzzles in game. So I do like puzzles in the game. I will say that it is a little frustrating when you use a puzzle, whether it would be this one or not, where it relies possibly too much on player knowledge and not enough on character knowledge, because I have seen that grind games to a halt in the past, where the players just for whatever reason can't get the puzzle. They're missing something, and you spend an hour in that one place trying to figure out that puzzle. And most of the time I've seen that's not fun. But I have also seen people use puzzles really, really effectively in games. And especially if you're saying this is a countdown related one, that seems like that probably put some kind of urgency or time limit on it. So on the surface, it seems like something like that would work. But I'll go back through and review this Z Shoes video, and maybe I can give you a follow up on that in coming weeks. Let's see. Um, Lots about the hat. Um, Aerogroth, will we get a new stream to replace Beyond Heroes? So at this point in time, we will have Silver and Steel, and again, a couple of those players and characters from Beyond Heroes are going to be going over to Silver and Steel. And as far as replacement, we are not ready to talk about any of those other plans. I certainly can say that we have other projects that the fandom tabletop team will be working on, and you will see new D&D Beyond streams in the future, but we just aren't ready to talk about any of that at this point in time. Ailwin, any adventure module advice for trying to have a one-on-one campaign? I have seen a good bit of information out there on the interwebs about providing advice for a one-on-one campaign. I have personally never run a one-on-one campaign. I probably have gotten close to it a few times, but for instance, with my kids, I've run a one-on-two campaign, and but because I have two sons that I play with. But I think that there are lots and lots of options, and I may be just completely making this up, but our staff writer James Hake might have at some point written something about that. And if he didn't, then we should maybe try to do something like that. So yeah, if he has, maybe somebody's sharing a link to it. If he hasn't, then we'll add that to the list for him to potentially consider doing something like that. But I think the advice that I would have for that, if I was going to run a one-on-one campaign, would be the same as really for any kind of campaign. Make sure that you know what the person you're playing with is expecting and what they're looking for and what fun looks like to them. And once you figure out what that is as a dungeon master, then I have seen in every single case where that has happened in games that I've run or played in across the years, that elevates the game to a point that I always enjoy it. And ultimately, in my mind, that's what we're trying to get out of this entire hobby and by playing this game. So, yeah, just making sure that you understand and you're aligned on those expectations, and that everyone understands what is fun to the other person that they're playing with. Let's see. General Temujin, is there any news on homebrew vehicles? They weren't added after Saltmarsh, but I haven't heard much anything since. Yeah, I don't have any news at this point in time for homebrew vehicles, other than to say they are on the list, and they are, something that we're considering with the backlog of items that we want to provide. That they are on that backlog, but they're not at the top of that list at this point in time. as that changes, we'll keep everyone posted. Skillful Archer, could we move Silver and Steel to the time Beyond Heroes was on Wednesdays? That is not currently planned. I don't know exactly what's going to happen there, but that is not currently planned. Aelwyn, where do we find the D&D images you use in your slides, like the satyr trying to build a glider? That's actually from Mythic Odysseys of Theros. I think that all of the art that was used today came from that book. So yeah, Mythic Odysseys of Theros is where I found that. All of the art is always from D&D products, unless it's some kind of very special promotion for something else that we're doing. But any of the artwork like that is coming from all of the D&D products on D&D Beyond. Let's see. Cistern, aka Rindalathar, any update on having campaign pages and listed characters containing more information like AC and passive ability scores? Some third-party browser extensions already do this, and it's very helpful. I'm glad that you're getting some use out of those extensions. That's great. But we are currently, I don't think that we are looking at doing that on a campaign page, but it is something that we are looking to do on combat tracker pages. And it is something that I'm sure that we can, at some point in time, update the campaign page to do something similar to that. I can certainly see the usefulness of that. So we'll take a look as we're considering all those angles. Dead Man Walk-ins. Will there be a dark mode on the character sheet? All right, moving right along. No, we are investigating ways that we could do that at some point in the future. It is not on the near term horizon. Please enjoy it in the app. I think it looks great in the mobile app at this point. Caesar, ability to quick swap dice on the character sheet for when you need to pull the big guns for a special roll without going to settings. I agree. That is something that I want to see as well. And it is something that is planned, but again, no news on exactly when that would be coming. But yeah, it is something that's planned, and we'll provide more info as soon as we have it. Bad 007. Will there be a hardcover pre-order deal for Beyond like there was for Theros? So we might be missing some words here, but I'm gonna guess and think that you mean Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. And no, we do not have that kind of deal going for that book. We will always be looking for ways that we can, do those kinds of promotions and provide convenience for fans and support local game stores. So we'll provide details on that if and when we have a promotion like that in the future. Dark Abyss Keeper. Is there any way possible to normalize the subclass data to take into account the basic rules subclass options being the only option a lot of people have? So yeah, as I explained while that was up, it is there's a way that we could normalize to a degree by only including in the data set players or accounts that have unlocked all of the possible options. So we could do that, but it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if we do that, then that is not necessarily giving the real clear picture of what people are actually playing on D&D Beyond, if that makes sense. So if we have free users, we have users who have purchased half of the options and half they haven't, and then we have some users that have purchased everything. All of those people is what's represented in the data that we showed you earlier. And so if we got rid of the free or got rid of the group of people who have only purchased half the options, it certainly would show amongst all the people who have purchased all the options what the distribution is, but it's not really showing what that distribution is across the entirety of the platform. So it's kind of it's just one way or another, and that's why I'm just trying to be clear about what we are doing there. It's across the entire platform. It does include free accounts, but we could, and we have in the past also chopped it up into, this is what's it looks like for people who have access to all the options, and being able to look across that is pretty good way to do it. The artificer, for instance, is going to be far more normalized because it is only purchasable. So the only way you can access that is through purchasing it. But yeah, we're always looking for better ways to try to show this. I think that the biggest deal is just trying to be as clear about what we're showing out there as we can be. Rogue Goat, have you taken any measures to exclude theorycraft characters from the subclasses by class data? And yes, we have done that. So we are always looking at active characters there. And the way that we do our best to define active characters on our side is to, only use characters that do things like update hit points, take rests, that kind of thing. So sure, theory crafters could also be doing those kinds of activities on their characters, so it's not going to be foolproof. But it is a little weird to be a theory crafter and build a character and then just start playing around with their hit points. So we're trying to take some reasonable measures to try to remove theory crafting as much as we can with that data. All right, let's see. I think that I actually stopped. Maybe questions stopped out there. We got 9 more minutes because I am out of questions that aren't about a hat. So I'm going to have to refresh this and let's see what happens. All the questions are going to go away when I refresh. So if you have another question, ask it again right here, and this thing will start to populate. I might have lost connectivity or something on the magic ritual that we have cast here. So while I am waiting on you to submit additional questions, I'm going to wet the whistle here. You notice this is not sweet tea. I'm still doing this fasting thing. And so I don't get sweet tea until later in the day. So, if I'm more ornery than I normally am, that might be the reason a little bit. Mm, yeah, questions might have broken. That's okay. So I'm going to go to Twitch. I'm going to go to Twitch and I'm going to look for the questions. We're going to do this the old fashioned way. The old fashioned way. All right. So I have just joined chat. So I'm sorry if you asked one in the last 3 minutes there. But I am going to go up to the first one that I see here, which is from Angus Davidson. Has COVID changed any of the priorities on the dev roadmap? I would say that the pandemic has created challenges for sure. So there's no way that I can say that it hasn't. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's changed any of the priorities. It's just made some of that working from home and everything else, all of this transitioning a little bit harder. And so therefore it's probably made things slower. Lots and lots of companies are experiencing that out there right now. But as far as the priorities go, I don't think that it has really impacted too much there. I think that maybe we did focus a little bit more on Avre earlier than we might have to get some of that integration going, because I do think that that was really clear to us early on that we saw a huge spike in the number of people who were using Avre right as quarantine started. And so we wanted to make sure that all of that was set up and integrated where you could use your unlocked D&D Beyond content in Aviary. Outside of that, I don't think it's really impacted the priorities themselves too much. All right, Cake Mage. Any word on adding campaign options for character creation, adding bonus feats for players, etc.? So I think you're talking just more customization options. You could possibly group changing the amount of spells people get, to that as well. That kind of thing is not that's not on the short term or midterm horizon, but we would love to potentially look at that someday. XX Atamant XX. I don't think I'm supposed to say the XX is there. Sorry about that. I think they are a framing mechanism. Do you know when inventory item management will be added to the app? So, if by item management you mean the ability to equip and unequip or make active those items, that is the next thing that we are talking or that we are doing outside of getting these descriptions in place. And so, not exactly sure how long that's going to take, but it is something that is on the short term horizon. Let's see. Sir Aaron Game Labs. Sorry, I'm having to I think I even told you in a previous dev update that I think I'm having some like glasses issues, but then I haven't gone to an eye doctor because of quarantine. And so I saw last week that I had way too much reflection coming off the computer screen. So I've like set up another screen where hopefully you're not getting a reflection and you're seeing my beautiful eyes underneath these giant, thicker than they should be glasses. But it also makes it a little bit hard for me to read this Twitch chat right now. So apologies about that. Sir Aaron Game Labs, will there be an option to give names to the monsters in the encounter builder so the combat tracker is easier to manage when using multiples of many mobs? You should be able to do that now within the encounter builder. And if you might need a little help finding out how, and maybe somebody can help you in chat there. But I would jump over and try to demo, but we're almost out of time here today. If you have any problems whatsoever, hit up our Discord or our forums and somebody can help you do that. Rogar Redmark, any thoughts on working with Tailspire? I like what Tailspire is doing. We don't have any plans to work with them, in any kind of official capacity at this point. Vincent Stone, is the translation project still proof of concept or hopefully already in process? Would love to use D&D Beyond in German. We have tried this out, and what we're finding out is just providing translated copies of a book such as the Player's Handbook really doesn't seem to move the needle enough. And it would be more like localizing the entire website, which unfortunately is a massive undertaking that we are not able to take a look at this point. So I'm not saying, definitively one way or another exactly what's going to happen with that, but we are reviewing options and we're going to be making decisions about that in the months to come. We'll share more details as soon as we have them. Let's see. C diff. Is there any way to hide cursed text for items? I want my players to find out when it's too late. so so devious. Right now they can look up and add the item and they know not to pick up the shiny new sword. Oh wow, that is so evil and I love it. That is a very very good point. It's not something that we're able to do at this point in time, but I think that you make a very valid point and your evilness is to be commended, and we'll see what we can do in the future. Dat Magic Juice. Any chance integration of monster stat blocks to Twitch extensions like what's currently in place for player characters? That's a cool concept. We haven't been able to do much with the extension lately because of other priorities, but we'll see what happens in the future. Mazitar, will we be able to set a dice option per character? Definitely want to do that. We'll let you know. Seraphin, maybe? Sorry, hard to read. Is there any chance you could not put sourcebook features and spell descriptors behind a paywall? It just makes me Google the spell description and directs users to another site. Wouldn't you rather have that traffic? I still need to pay for integration. So no, we're doing everything that we can per our license with Wizards of the Coast. And so if there are other options out there, they are not officially licensed, endorsed, or possibly legal. Mirari 15 with digital dice. Will there be digital dice bags or holders? Let's see what happens in the future. Eric Goth trying to just jam these out. Any chance of making pre-order exclusive content like backdrops available for purchase on the marketplace after the deals end? We will see how that goes. Last one, Luxor 513 5013. What are some of the ideas you had for a DM app you put in the survey after the player app? We'll have more to share on that and just kind of our general approach to what we're going to do with the mobile app in the weeks to come. We'll certainly talk a little bit more about that when we have more time. I am out of time today. Thank you very much, everyone, for submitting the questions. I'm sorry if I missed your question. We had a little bit of technical difficulties here, but much appreciated for everyone joining me today. I hope that everyone has a wonderful week, and we will see you back here next week. Later, Gators.